Good morning. I'm going to tell the story of the first time I was thrown out of Standford Hill because none of the actual real details are going in the book. So I'm free to say it all. So what happened, I, I had already made the decision to go back into crime when I was released. There are a couple of reasons for that, and they are in the book, so I'll leave that. But at the same time, I was very active in the prison. It was Standford Hill. I'd only been there for 5 months. I'd had, I think, 3 or 4 home leaves, a few town visits, and I was just being a bum, really, if I'm honest. I was working in the gym and I was a health promotion orderly, but really I should have been thinking about going out to work every day, but I don't know why, it just never even occurred to me. I think, well, actually I do know why, and that all went wrong as well, but you'll learn about that in the book too. But in terms of being thrown out, so I was really active. I was selling spice when spice didn't used to kill people. I was selling alcohol, vodka. I was selling steroids, and I was selling protein powder because you couldn't buy that in the prison at the time. And I was getting people mobile phones as well. I had little mules who were going out on town visits on the weekends, and they would bring back an ounce of spice. Let's just say it was well hidden, and they would give that to me. I'd give them a little drink for doing that. They didn't ask for much, and so I didn't have to go through the risk of bringing it in myself. All of the other stuff, it was just pure coincidence, but there was a guy who lived almost opposite me on the other side of the landing, and he was the driver. He used to drive a tractor with a kind of trailer attached, and he would go out of the prison to the car parks at Swaleside, which is literally right in front of Standford Hill, and about a third of a mile up the road to Elmley, and he would empty their bins in their car parks onto the trailer, bring it all back, and it would be dealt with. We had recycling at Standford Hill then, so people used to go through it all. What he also was doing was collecting bags of sports bags full of stuff for me and literally delivering it to my office next to the gym. And the mad thing is, I spoke to him and he was happy to do it. And I said, well, just tell me what you want for doing it. And he said, I don't want anything. So he did it for nothing. The morning that I was thrown out, I left my cell to go and hide. I had a nice little hiding place for my little phone, one of my little phones, my SIM card, and you could squeeze a few other bits and bobs in there. I had a course of steroids that someone wanted from the other wing, so they were going to come and meet me at the gym. So I had those things in my pocket when I left my cell, and I think I had a couple of £20 notes. So I was just leaving my cell to go and put that away, and the guy opposite me, who was going home that day, he called me and said, can you come over? I need to speak to you. And this guy I was active in drugs again at the time, outside of prison, and he wanted to talk to me about buying relatively large amounts of amphetamine speed from me, sort of multiple kilos at a time. But I said, look, his name was John. John, I'm just going to go and do something and then I'll be straight over. And he said, no, we haven't got time. Just come over now. I only need you for a couple of minutes. So I went round there with all this stuff in my pocket, came out of his cell 2 or 3 minutes later when I'd swapped details with him, and there's a really well-known, he's an infamous screw in Standford Hill. I won't name him, but let's just say everyone called him Wily Watcher, because he used to really watch when you were having a piss test in the jail. So he got the nickname Wily Watcher. And I walked out of John's cell, and Wily Watcher was standing right there, and he said, and by then the bell for roll check had gone, and so you're supposed to be behind your door to be counted. He said, "What you doing?" And I said, "Well, sorry, I'm just going back to my cell, but he's going home today and I just wanted to say goodbye to him." And he looked at me and he said, "You know what that means?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Cell spin." It actually wasn't an off-the-cuff thing, because he had my prop card from reception on him. So I thought, fuck, this is not going to go well. So 2 screws, they walked me round to my cell, went inside. Well, this is a real kind of insight into how fucking ridiculously stupid I was at the time, because not only was I having my contraband delivered to sell, but I was also getting my friends to fill the bags up with food and drink for me. Marks and Spencer's food and Tesco Finest. And so they walked in my cell. I had fucking bottles of wine lined up on the side. I had all this food. They're looking around. Wily Watcher said to me, "What's in your pockets?" And I was standing to the left of him. He was here. And I went in my pockets and fiddled about very quickly, and I pulled the insides out like that and did that. I said, "There's nothing in there." I had everything in my left hand at this time. He just said, "What's in your hand?" And I just went, pfft. Gave it to him. They put me in handcuffs immediately, marched me to reception down the long driveway everyone could see, and they locked me in what's called the cage in reception at Standford Hill. I sat in there for about 2 hours while they spun my cell. What I managed to do in that time, someone walked past me coming in from work, a night shift, and I quickly just gave them a phone number and said, "Do me a favour, call this number, tell them what's happened. I'm out of here, I'm getting kicked out." And that was an important phone call, and the bloke did that for me, and that was really good of him. So yeah, I ended up, Wily Watcher and another screw eventually put me in a transit van with bars in the windows, like a prison van essentially, and they drove me the 1/3 of a mile to Elmley, and dropped me there in reception. And Willie actually came up to me before they left, and he said, "Look, I know you've done a long time, no hard feelings." And he said, "I wish you all the best." And he held out his hand. I did shake his hand because, you know, he was just doing his job, and I was taking the absolute piss in Standford Hill. I look back on it now, and of course I just think, what a fucking div. But so I got myself thrown out, and I spent my last 9 months, 10 months back in closed conditions. But yeah, I absolutely thoroughly deserved it. I was taking liberties there. There was a lot of money coming through for me. You know, I was probably just from the prison alone earning about 500 quid a week, and that's a lot of money in prison, even in an open prison. So yeah, I got what I deserved, and it's ironic that Wily Watcher caught me, because he was just known for getting everyone. He would just bag people. There's another guy who was his like partner. I'm just going to call him Mr. B. And he was also, they were so active, and the rumour used to be that they would come in on their nights off and run around outside with telephone scanners and just then go flop on people using phones. That may well be true. I wouldn't put it past them. And that's the story of the first time I was not kicked out of Standford Hill. Good morning, everybody. Have a lovely day.